Hey guys, welcome back to more HOA Karen stories. In this Reddit video, imagine coming home to find someone has changed your locks, moved into your house and claims they legally seized it, all while you are trying to sell it. That is exactly what happened when my HOA president's wife decided to make my property her new home. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is titled HOA Karen Squats in My House, posted on r/ripe stories by user TheAmazingGeek87. So I, 38 male, make a living as an IT consultant. I'm a systems engineer, admin or systems developer on demand if you must. So I used to own a home in an HOA. I say used because I moved out before even selling it and rented a new one. My new place is cheap but it's quiet so I can work. My HOA house is bought and paid fully off, but I'm not made of money. I will buy a new place once my HOA house sells. It is actually in a good neighborhood, good area, at least on the outside, to any prospective buyer. Before I go too deep though, let me preface some basic info. The HOA is voluntary, legal laws do not and cannot compel a person to join without severe consequences. This HOA knows this and are on good terms with me. I'm one of 12 holdouts in a 140 home development lot in a two-phase development. It did not stop them from stuffing brochures about joining the HOA into my mailbox though. I and the other holdouts had paid a nominal fee per month to have access to some of the amenities laid out and mediated by the developer. And by the way guys, that sounds like some kind of protection money from the mafia. Compared to an HOA member, I had maybe a third of what they had. I could go on, but let's get to why you're reading this. Now, you're wondering, if the HOA was such a good spot to live and things were so good, why leave or sell out, right? No, it was not fees, and it was not taken lightly either. It started with an election for a new board. That election gave us Steven, a nice lawyer, good morals, to become our new board president. His one fault was marrying his wife Karen. And well, Karen was a piece of work. She talked to you in that condescending tone that made you not only feel small, but she could destroy the mood of any gathering. She acted important and she acted like a queen. Prior to the events I'm gonna tell, Karen, upon moving in, had started up little cliques with the other ladies in the development. Groups of friends based on your husband's yearly salary, or the value of your home, or what your rank was of your husband. I know, petty, weirder, so as the only single person in the development, I was treated even more downwards. Karen, he's so miserable, cannot even get a girl. Karen's cliques continued to form and foster. She'd turn people on each other offline and pretend to be friends with everyone online. Over time, that changed as on the HOA's online group, Karen started attacking people and placing labels on them. Frankly, I get this elementary middle school bully vibes from her. What made my life miserable though was when Karen and her posse started to gang up on me. Karen, her friends and their husbands tried to ban me from using any facility or amenities of the development. Karen, you're not a member and it's members only to use the pool. Karen, I'm sorry but the gym area is only paying members only. Karen, you were told to never enter the community center ever again. Karen to her friends still barred me from entering anything. I showed the letter and receipt for the nominal fee payment, and when that failed to let me in, called the developer and then left a nicely worded email saying basically, if I did not get access, I would have to sue both the developer and the HOA. Someone must have talked to her because Karen went unseen and silent for days. Her harassment stopped for the time being, but when her husband became board president, Karen took on a whole new level of Karenness. Karen had now taken on this form that she was the president herself by virtue of her husband being the real one. She thought she was the overlord. She added a new clique to her group, a board member spouse club as basic as I can describe it. This group, controlled by Karen, began a rampage and a tyranny. She used the line, well, my husband is the board president and a hotshot lawyer. We will see how you fare in that plan. Karen's group shut down events, private parties, and went after anyone who disgusted Karen. We, the non-members, were always at odds with Karen. If I was in the pool, Karen would walk over and she would say, you should be grateful I'm letting you relax here. I'm working closely with my husband and the developer. You'll soon be kicked out of here. Me, should I just email the developer then and start the court proceedings? Karen walked away in a snooty way. She would snoot me off at any point at any time we crossed paths. She was going out of her way now to verbally come after me each time, and she also spread rumors about me, but most got quelled before they even budded into anything. It was the best she could do. She, at meetings, had tried to change the rules of the HOA, but the developers had a say in the community, and frankly, no one supported her crazy ideas. I eventually grew tired of this. The house was not worth it, the friends I had made were gone, I had the fight taken out of me. I moved out and moved across town, and no, since this house was not a dream house, I could care less, nor about a pointless battle. I hired a friend to upkeep the place though. I left behind some furniture to stage the place and had a realtor start the sales process. Stuff too numerous or too big for my rented place, I thought honestly that the place would sell fast. Yeah, right, a better part of a year later is where the story really gets going. I was excited at the time. I had seen homes start selling in the HOA, and I told my realtor to lower their asking price slightly, still making a good profit to the market value. I got some hits on a regular basis, and then the day hit. I got an irate call from my friend who seemed surprised that I had rented the place out. I then got another call minutes later from my realtor. Realtor, angry surprised. "You should have told me you rented the place out. We cannot get access from the new tenant. You even changed the locks." Me, I did not do that? Realtor, "You better get out here then. If this is maybe a squatter, I guess you're gonna need to get the law into this immediately." I called several local lawyers, leaving voicemails on the weekend, and drove out to the HOA. I knocked on the door. "It's the homeowner!" I yelled. I tried the key, and yeah, the lock had been changed. The door opened barely a crack. When I tried anything, I found out a door chain had been installed too. Karen then said, "This property has been seized by the HOA and is being used as a second office." Me, I received no notice in the mail. Karen cut me off and closed the door. Angry, I walked back to the realtor. "Nancy, my realtor, can you cancel all your showings or postpone as many as we can?" Meanwhile, I tried calling the HOA offices. As this was not an office day, no one picked up. I called a few friends and they suggested that I call up Steven, the HOA president. Weirdly, he did not pick up. I, fueled by stories of horror on Reddit, sorry guys, feared for the worse. Monday came and several attorneys called. I first thought contacted the developer and the HOA. HOA office person, "At this moment we cannot comment on a matter we do not know about. I will contact the board and they will appraise you later." The developer company rep then said, "I'm sorry to hear what's going on. We will email you shortly and we will help you the best we can. I will also contact the HOA and its management company." Finally, I got a Zoom call. I was informed that the whole thing was being recorded and I would get a copy afterwards. HOA treasurer said, "First off, I'd like to apologize for the board president and vice president. They are not here. Both are involved with personal matters. I'm here as just a representative." HOA treasurer, "First, I would like to state a few facts, Mr. OP. We, the HOA, have no second office. We don't have any association with nor any further info of this issue, but we are prepared to help with full transparency." HOA management rep, same here. "We have no idea what happened and I will help with what we can do here. I believe the board and myself will allow you full inspection of your property, our offices and anything else you may need." Development company rep, "We here at Dillinger, not gonna dox myself, Development 2, want a transparent investigation into this matter and would also like to preserve any rights of Mr. OP. When the Zoom call ended, the developer rep called me stating, "We would like to avoid any kind of legal action or recourse unless truly necessary." I asked around the HOA and heard some interesting rumors about the matter. After I retained a lawyer, my attorney told me it was best to bring in a professional to look into things while he looked into the HOA itself. Too nervous, weeks later, the attorney came back with the surprises. Paraphrasing here, but basically, my lawyer, first off, the HOA is clean. This was nothing on their end. The PI, private investigator, was the more interesting one and the more fruitful investment. According to what the PI was able to dig up, the rumors are true. Karen and her husband are going through a nasty divorce. Karen had been caught 2 ways. She was caught with her tyranny, but what truly brought on the divorce was how she was cheating on her husband. He had confronted her one night. These two were so loud, so you heard them in the next county, according to a neighbor. She made up excuses, made up reasoning, and made herself a victim. Karen had sped off into the night after packing a few things. She had not been seen for days before she showed up in the HOA. Everyone thought Karen was staying with someone inside the HOA, but I guess they were wrong. My lawyer, it's now a civil matter and we will have to evict and sue for the loss of the house being unable to be seen by the buyers. We took Karen to court. In court, Karen was interesting, Karen dressed and acted in the mannerism of a grieving woman. Karen faked tears. "Your Honor, I'm having a hard time today. My awful soon-to-be ex-husband of 15 years is on the brink of divorcing me over a misunderstanding. He's overreacting. And now Mr. OP is going back on his word. He verbally and written told me that he let me rent his home while he was away from the HOA. He's breaking his word, Your Honor. He knows I have no money and he said I could live there for free. You're duty-bound, Your Honor, to protect me, a lady, from this." The judge said, "Madam, there's only so much the law can do." Do you have proof of these agreements or the written evidence? And Karen was smart enough to not present forged documents here, dumb enough to present a half-filled rental agreement though. It was missing my signature, a notary, or anything else for her claim. Judge, do you have video or witnesses for the verbal stuff? Karen, "Your Honor, Mr. OP has turned my entire community against me. They all hate me at the moment and won't say anything." Karen acted like she could cry a river of tears. Karen, "Isn't there a gentleman here who would help me?" The judge didn't believe it though. Karen stalled, but it all amassed to 2 weeks before the judge ruled in my favor. The judge ruled that she had 14 days to move out and hand over the new keys. 15 days later, a sheriff's deputy was forced to break the door down with Karen screaming about how unprofessional this was. She kept screaming about the law, the judge, an appeal, and how we were so uninformed. A 5-minute call cleared that up and the officer stated that he was this close to arresting her. Karen fell apart and began to try to grab her things. Karen, "I'll have a truck come by to grab my appliances and furniture." Karen was referring to my things. So I thought she might try something like this, so I showed receipts to the deputy. "Deputy, Mrs. or is it Miss? Karen, that was your last chance. I'm gonna arrest you for the next tiniest lie you tell." Karen left sulking and I took her to court again. Her lawyer argued this was some kind of revenge or vendetta that I had against her, though he had not been informed of my motive yet. I wanted my legal fees, compensation for damages to the house, the lock change, and just about anything I could tack on. Karen decided to go to trial. A locksmith, a maintenance worker, both testified that they helped her get inside my house. Karen had presented them forms showing the home seizure due to the non-payment of fines. My realtor showed all the missing showings scheduled. My lawyer had pictures of damage to the house itself, even minor ones, and I testified the pain and suffering. All in all, Karen was on the hook now for $22,000, and if you think this was peanuts for all the pain, well, there's 2 ways to look at this. From your perspective reading this, it's a low amount of money. From Karen's perspective, an unemployed, never worked a day in her life, lives off other people kind of person, this was a fortune. Karen in the divorce got nothing due to a prenuptial agreement, and no, I have not seen Karen since nor cared to look, and I was finally able to sell the house, by the way. P.S. For those wondering about Karen's affair, the rumors and the PI got most of the info, but it really boiled down to this. Karen had another guy on the side whom she supported financially with her husband's money. Her ex became suspicious, according to what the PI found out when started seeing money being skimmed out of their investment accounts, just small amounts underneath the interest value. It's kind of like going to your bank account expecting growth but never finding it. Karen's ex had a PI look into the matter and bingo, grounds for a divorce. And yeah guys, if you want to share your own stories with me, please post them on r/ripestories on Reddit because there's a good chance that I will read them in a video. The next one is titled, "Try to drag me across the world to blame me for your failures? Get left high and dry." And this one is a fantastic revenge story. So this is unfolding basically in real time, but we are near the end of the story now. The story is a bit technical in nature, but I've tried to spare as many details as possible. My company does industrial software globally, which involves multiple modules interacting with physical processes. Projects often involve installation and testing locally, but my team's part is able to be deployed and tested about 90% remotely. There was one project in North America where my team's software was deployed months ago, and we've only had to deal with fairly minor bugs since then. However, the project overall is running really late and the local team is struggling hard. So 3 weeks ago they asked me to fly out about halfway across the world to help fix it while I finish off that last 10%. I arrive and find that the other key software module in the system barely works, but the people on site who are supposed to be working on it, instead of knuckling down and fixing it, have basically been blaming everything else. Talking to the other team members, these guys have me spent the past month blaming the mechanical and electrical designers, fitters and technicians, often without real basis. When I arrive, they seem happy that I'm there to help fix things, but about a week later, shock to nobody, they start trying to blame me for their problems as well. I tolerate this for about a week, explaining to them how the system should work. I was a key designer, collecting logs and evidence of the problems and performing root cause analysis to help them locate the problem with their code. It doesn't stop them from trying, but it keeps my hands clean and makes progress to me going home. Then last Friday, I get a baffling email from the group of them. Apparently, they had met at a time where the project manager knew I was not available and constructed an elaborate theory about how the software I was responsible for was doing the wrong thing and convinced the PM, who is non-technical, into backing them. In a call to discuss it, I was told by the PM that I was responsible for collaborating with the team to fix this issue, which had resulted in delays to project milestones. I try to explain my side but get shouted down in the call. I experience a very powerful moment of clarity about what is happening and immediately change my strategy. That shift, I explain again that I consider the issue to be unlikely and demand to see hard evidence backing this claim. They cannot produce anything beyond the data at this breakpoint is not what it should be, which I explain is not conclusive as it could still be the fault of their code. I then spent half the shift trying to replicate the problem and capturing network traffic logs between the two systems, the interface where these systems interact, but no matter how hard I try, I cannot replicate it. Instead of delivering it just to them as I had been, I copy in my management back home all the way to the top along with a paper trail, explaining, showing how I had been blindsided, demanded to fix a problem that couldn't be traced to my area of responsibility, all without evidence, and documented names and exactly how much time had been wasted. Well, it turns out I'm not alone. Some privately reach out to me asking for more details, explaining they are seeing a similar thing unfolding on a different project run by members of the same team, so I happily oblige. In the middle of the shift I explain this in clear terms to them, and they lose their mind, denying what they had done, backtracking, trying to blame me some more. One looked like they might start crying. The next day I sent a formal letter to HR back home withdrawing my consent to be there with all the legalese referencing my employment agreement and specific legal statutes and explaining that among other reasons this had become an unsafe and uncollaborative work environment. They agree without any fuss and I start planning to return. The PM loses their mind and almost begs me to stay because it means that I will not be present for the client sign-off and there were still things to be fixed and the likelihood of this local team fixing them themselves is next to zero. I leave tomorrow, testing starts the following day. Normally this would be unfathomable, but at this point I have enough evidence that I'm basically untouchable. I'm both impressed and disgusted by the audacity of this team, but they effed with the wrong person and just landed themselves an even bigger world of pain. And the next one is an Am I the A-hole story with a final update, so please watch until the end to see the conclusion. So I, 29 female, have a husband named Matt, 32 male, and an older brother named Tony, 32 male. Tony has a wife named Anna, 33 female, and Tony and I both went to boarding school growing up. I went to an all-girls school and he went to an all-boys school across the country. Because of the distance, we were not very close as kids and I didn't know much about his life back then. When Tony was at boarding school, he met my future husband Matt and they became best friends. At the time, Tony was dealing with depression about his sexuality and Matt helped him out of it. Long story short, they ended up falling in love and having a relationship. Once they graduated high school, they broke up and then lost touch. I didn't know about any of this at the time. I ended up going to the same university as Matt, which is where I met him. I did not mention my brother initially because he wasn't really a part of my life, and since Tony and I have different last names, the three of us didn't put the pieces together until a family gathering a year later. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough at first for everyone involved, but eventually we were able to get past it and Tony and Matt became best friends again. And then Matt and I got married 3 years ago. When I met Tony's partner Anna for the first time, I privately asked Tony if he told her about his history with Matt. Tony said it was still a new relationship and he would tell her when they were more serious. Now, Tony and Anna are married. Since Tony and Matt are so close, they often go on boys' trips with just the two of them. They took one of these trips this past weekend and everything was going fine until I got a call from Anna asking if I knew where Tony was. Apparently, he told her that he was gonna see our parents, but she called them and he was not there. I told her that he was on a trip with Matt. She got upset and asked me if there was something going on between them. Thinking she already knew because she and Tony are now married, I told her not to worry because Matt and Tony's romance ended in high school. That is when I found out that Tony never told her. And well, Tony was furious at me when he got back because Anna is now threatening divorce and I am tearing up his family because I told her without asking him first. Apparently, Tony did not tell Anna the truth because he thought that she would not let him see Matt anymore, and now Anna wants him to cut me and Matt out completely. Matt is upset too because he cannot see Tony and he is losing his best friend all over again. So basically, my brother wants to cut me out of his life, his wife wants a divorce, and my husband is miserable, all because of something I said. I feel so guilty and I cannot help but feel as though I messed up. And yeah, ripe stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Was OP the a-hole here or not? Reddit said, I'm gonna say yes and also no. Yes, because you low-key outed someone without their permission. You could have asked more prying questions to see if she knew before hitting her with the, oh yeah, he used to give him the cluck cluck 3000, but that's ended years ago. Even a, what do you mean, Anna, would have sufficed probably. However, I agree with other commenters that something is shady and something more is going on too. Tony shouldn't want to cut you out of his life entirely unless he is afraid of getting caught again. You are likely being kept in the dark. This could be some Brokeback Mountain stuff. Comment number 2, I cannot even make a judgment here, but I'd be concerned if I was you. The fact that your brother repeatedly lies to his wife about his guy trip with your husband makes me think you both are in the dark here and it's more of a Brokeback Mountain situation going on. Update, I was not at all expecting my last post to get so much attention. To say that the comments were a wake-up call is an understatement. Many people wanted an update, so here it is. Basically, after I gave my husband space, I confronted him about his trips with my brother. He agreed to be honest with me about their relationship. As some of you suspected, Matt knew when we first met that I was Tony's sister and started dating me to get close to Tony again. He claimed that in the first year of our relationship, before he reunited with Tony, he genuinely fell in love with me. When Tony saw us together, he admitted to Matt that he still loved him and was distraught when Matt said that he didn't feel the same way. Eventually, they made amends and became close friends again. Around the time Matt married me, Tony fell into a deep depression. That's when the trip started. Matt told me that initially he was just supporting Tony as a friend, but Tony broke down on one of the trips and confessed that he never stopped loving Matt and was lying about the trips to his wife because he felt guilty and also why he never told her about their history. He begged Matt to keep this a secret to protect their relationship. According to Matt, nothing physical ever happened between them. I pushed him on why Anna thought there was something going on, and Matt eventually admitted they were having an emotional affair. A few months ago, Anna overheard a phone call between Tony and Matt that made her suspicious, so she went through Tony's phone and confronted him about some things she found. No hard proof, but enough to make her uneasy. She told Tony that she didn't want him hanging out with Matt anymore, but he did anyway until I accidentally ratted him out. My brother and sister-in-law have totally cut contact, so I don't have anyone to corroborate my husband's story. I still don't know how much of it I believe. If it's true, I don't know why Anna never told me anything. The whole thing sounds too ridiculous to be true, but for now it's all I have. Matt has apologized non-stop and wants to work through this, which I cannot even think about right now. The past couple of weeks have been awful. Matt moved out and we both agreed that we need distance before making any decisions about our marriage, but I don't see us coming back from this. I don't think I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. The worst thing is I only have myself to blame for being so naive and not seeing the massive red flags sooner. And as for marrying my brother's ex in the first place, more than anything, I feel so incredibly guilty. This was not the ending I had hoped for, but I'm grateful that I at least have some answers now. Honestly, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to directly confront this if not for my post here, so despite everything, maybe we can all think of this as somewhat of a happy ending. Thank you for comments and support. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, this story had such an incredible plot twist. I would have never expected this from a post on r/am_I_the_a-hole. Let me know in the comments what you think about this story. And the next one is a really funny wedding-themed petty revenge story, and it starts like this. So my half-sister Sarah and I never really got along. We both are 23, my father left my mother for her mother, and we were born the same month, 20 days apart. It has always been weird. It doesn't help that Sarah's mom hates me and my mom, and by extension Sarah and I didn't have the best relationship. She has always tried to one-up me, even though we both have a similar economic background. I can give examples of this, but for the sake of the word limit I won't write them here. So now my fiancé and I got engaged last month and had our engagement party this Saturday. We had planned it originally as a casual formal event, nice dresses, but not the "I'm going to the Met Gala ball" nice. More like we're going to a fairly nice restaurant, nice, but nothing more. Anyway, my cousin hits me up saying she has to show me something. It was the picture of a dress that Sarah was gonna wear to the party. And this dress, oh my god, it can only be described as opulent. It was long, white, had diamonds, and so on. Strapless with sewn-in crystals as well as golden accents. I'm pretty sure it's a wedding dress, but I cannot be 100% sure. This made me extremely angry, so I decided screw this. I started texting people telling them that there had been a change of plans and that instead of casual formal, I decided to make a costume party. My mother's side is crazy for Halloween, so they were immediately on board. I told my dad via text message and asked for him to relay the message to Sarah, her mother, and knowing full well that he would forget or leave it to the last minute. Well, what can I say? Saturday comes along, guests start showing up, most of them in costumes. Some didn't have time to get one. We provided them with fun hats and cheap wigs. But then, Sarah, my dad, and her mother come like 1 hour late. As soon as she notices that everyone was either wearing elaborate costumes or weird accessories and she didn't stand out, she lost it. Especially when my fiancé came along and told her that her bride dress looked amazing for a cheap costume. Sarah ended up leaving crying, and her mother and my father told me that I was supposedly being childish and I could have told Sarah myself and not have tasked my father. By the way, for those interested, my fiancé was dressed as Bubbles and I was dressed as Mojo Jojo. My mom and aunts went as ABBA. Other memorable costumes were Luffy and Zorro, Iron Malcolm, and John Hammond and Jesus. And yeah guys, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like the video and I will see you again tomorrow.